we are Adriana, Manuela, and Paula, and today we are going to talk about Romanesque art versus Gothic art. Index. First, we are going to talk about the art. Then, the paintings. After, the architecture. And finally, the sculpture.
Then we start with origin.
The club isn't the best place to find the lovers.
The Romanesque is called like this because it uses the main features of the Roman art, and the Gothic is called like that because it describes the art of the late Middle Ages. The Romanesque started in the 11th century and the Gothic started in the mid of the 12th century. Then the Romanesque finished in the middle of the 12th century and the Gothic finished in the 15th. Both arts started in France, Romanesque in Cluny. Romanesque is a deeply religious art to strengthen people's Christian beliefs, and Gothic is also a religious art related to Christianity and also to citizens art.
Me and my friends sat at the table doing shots, tripping fast, and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a
Paintings.
conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance now. Now follow my lead, come and now follow my lead.
Paintings were inside the buildings.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet.
Human figures in paintings of the Romanesque were hierarchically arranged, meaning that the most important persons were the biggest figures, rigid, schematic, hierarchic, that all is related to God, stylized, anti-naturalistic, and forward. Human figures have defined features of body parts, also elongated parts of the body as the hands and the face. It was a strict religion, so the eyes were quite open. The most important figures were in the middle. They were outlined in thick lines of black. They used horror vacui. This means that there weren't empty spaces in the background. They adapt to the architectural frame. They were simple drawings with colors such as brown and red. They had no volume, no depth, and no perspective. Where they appeared, they painted in murals, in the walls, in panels such as wood altarpieces, and in miniatures such as books.
I wouldn't forget you, and so I went and let you go.
They used these paintings to moralize, decorate their buildings, and educate about their religion. The most famous themes they painted about were the Pantocrator, the Virgin and the Child, and Bible stands and lives of saints.
Every single dream I dream, I knew it.
In the Gothic, the paintings were independent from the architectural frame. They had background landscapes and paintings had greater realism with movement of figures. They used bright colors and gold. Tempera was started to use. They drew more details, curved lines, and used the functions of Gothic were to educate about their religion and decorate buildings.
You're the one I have decided, who's one of my kind.
Where they appear, they painted in windows, called rose windows, in miniatures, books, in altarpieces, and also in vaults.
Hey, soul sister, hey, that mister.
There were two types of Gothic. Italian Gothic, a famous artist is called Giotto, and lineal Gothic. Portraits became famous by rich people that ordered them. This is an example. The god of the Gothic was sweet and kind. That's why the cathedrals were hired to touch heaven, and the one of the Romanesque was judging and cruel.
Balls. In Romanesque we have barrel balls and grain balls that were supporting walls, and in the Gothic we have fan balls and rib balls, and the weight of the building was distributed through the pillars.
In Romanesque, due to the thick walls, it was a dark place, and in the Gothic, as there were lots of windows, it was a light place. In Romanesque, they used semicircular arches, and in the Gothic, they used pointed arches.
Solid exterior buttresses were used in Romanesque architecture and flying buttresses were used in Gothic architecture. The main entrance of Romanesque was divided in 5 parts: the archivolts, that are mini arches that surrounded the entrance, the lintel, that is the upper part of the door frame, that are the 2 extremes of the entrance and support the weight of the archivolts, the mullion, that breaks the light that enters in the cathedral by the door, and the tympanum, where the sculptures are placed. In the Gothic, at the entrance there was a big rose window, and they tried that the 2 bell towers were identical. The Romanesque churches were all along the pilgrimage routes. An example is Santiago de Compostela Church, and the Gothic churches were in specific cities such as in France, Cluny, Abbey.
Mister on the radio, stereo, the way you move ain't fair, you know.
New features were incorporated to Gothic architecture, such as the pinnacle, the one on top of the flying buttresses, the pointed arches, replacing the semicircular ones, and the rib vault. In Romanesque, they used the floor plan of a Latin cross, and in Gothic was a Latin cross with a polygonal apse. In Romanesque, the naves were almost of the same height, and in Gothic, the central nave was much higher than the side nave. The parts of a Romanesque church are crossing, side door, transept, bell tower, main entrance, side nave, central nave, apsidioles, apse, and ambulatory. Sculpture.
The human figures of sculptures are hieratic, rigid, lack perspective, religious, hierarchically arranged, and attached to buildings. In Gothic, human figures are independent, realistic, and natural, made of stone.
In both arts, the function is to educate and decorate buildings. The main topics of Romanesque are the Pantocrator, the 4 Evangelists, the Crucifixion of Christ, and the Virgin and the Child, and in the Gothic, religious sculptures.
Capitals are sculptures at the top of columns in cloisters. They show real or fantastic animals. When they show real animals, they symbolize that if you commit a sin, those creatures will be the ones that will bring you to hell. They also represented everyday life scenes, crop calendars, plant motifs. An example is the capitals of Santo Domingo of Silos.